We're getting started by looking at managing those pennies. And of course, we have the expertise of a chartered professional accountant and certified internal auditor, Crystal Howell, joining us. Good morning. Now, today we want to look at SWOT analysis. Now, this is critical. There are a whole lot of words wrapped up in that little acronym. So I want you to break it down for us and tell us, are we looking at business owners, entrepreneurs, average citizens?
You could look at all of the above. It could be just for everyone's edifications. SWOT analysis stands for strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So when you're doing your business plan, this is an area that is almost like a staple when you're doing your business plan. You have to make sure that you, for your business and as an entrepreneur, you're aware of these different areas so that you can incorporate them into your business plan and build around them. So the first thing we can look at in this SWOT analysis is the strengths.
Yeah, that's always a good place to start.
Because your business is going to be built on the strengths that you have as an entrepreneur, as an individual, as a corporation. We have to look at what it is that will make you stand out from the rest of the crowd. So it involves a lot of brainstorming, as you can imagine. And one of the things people would sit down and do is say, okay, what it is that I do that makes me stand out? What is it that will help me to be able to stay above, a cut above my competitors? So let's use our canteen example, your food vendors example, so that we can go through this and see how practical we can make it. So let's say that you decided you wanted to open a canteen, and there's been a lot of call. This is especially with Breast Cancer Awareness Month and everything else. People are looking for vendors who are focused more on healthy alternatives. And I remember even Sagicor would have had a fair recently, and we were looking for vendors, and it seemed a bit difficult to find vendors who are offering healthy options. It's not impossible, but the options for unhealthy options, the fried food, much greater. So that is something that we could see. If you are a vendor and you are looking to get into that particular area, maybe there is a strength that you have and an opportunity to be able to offer healthier alternatives for fairs, for extravaganzas, for school canteens, for all of these other areas.
Let that be a part of your unique selling points as you have here.
Exactly. So the strength that you may have is that you have a wide range of healthy alternatives that are not boring, which is something a lot of persons complain about when they think of healthy alternatives. They think there's something that we won't enjoy, or it's going to be too expensive.
That's a real concern.
And that is a genuine concern, that it is a lot cheaper to go and get some pastries or some fried foods or whatever the case may be. But your strength may be that you have found unique ways to make healthy eating as exciting as it is to going to the unhealthy alternatives.
Right, so you strike that balance and make it work for you. Now, how critical is it to look at your weaknesses?
Extremely critical, and I think it is something people need to be very honest about when they're going about it, because people like to sugarcoat or brush over the areas where they may be weak in. But if you can take a deep analysis into the areas that you need to do work on, then you're much more prepared for when you actually start your business as to the things you will need to work on, what you may need to get help with, what you may need to learn more about. So if, for instance, you know that you're a bit weak on the technological side, you know when you open your computer, it feels as though every problem that could happen seems to happen. You will then be able to go and say, you know what? This weakness could pose a threat to my business, and I need to be able to make sure that I am aware of what I have to have in place so that when I open my business, this does not become something that causes customers to walk out the door.
Especially if there's a competitor who's doing whatever better than you are.
Exactly.
So it's important to know what they're good at as well, your competition.
Correct. So if you know that you're not very au fait with social media, for instance, you have to be honest about that. If it's not your strong point, if taking pictures and selfies and mini videos and posting them online and having persons advertise during that, using that forum is something that's difficult for you, be honest about it. Write it down. Be able to see, okay, if this is my weakness, what do I have to put in place to make sure that I counteract that?
Yeah. Even if it means hiring somebody.
Even if it means hiring
to do
someone.
it. So then you provide for that. Okay, so we're seeing how weaknesses could tie right into posing a threat to
Yes.
your business, but opportunities are a major part of the SWOT analysis, and we touched on that as we looked at the strengths.
Yes. So strengths and weaknesses tend to be more internal and what you can control from your end. Opportunities and threats tend to be more external. So you can look at opportunities, for instance, there's an opening in a particular area that you've been looking to branch out into.
Right.
So let's say Sheraton, for example, had to have an opening in one of their malls for you to be able to set up business in that area. That's an opportunity, which is external because you can't control if Sheraton or Sky Mall or Warrens or any of those other areas have an opening. But you have to be on the lookout to see what is available and look and see if this is an opportunity that you can take advantage of. So it involves you doing a lot of homework and doing a lot of research to see if you can find the best opportunity to match the strengths and weaknesses that you have.
Should you also note whether the opportunity is long-term or short-term?
Definitely.
Why is that important?
It helps with your planning and especially your financial planning. So even if you had this lease opportunity, what happens if it's only for 1 year and then the term for the lease is up within a year's time? Do you have to then move business or do you have a plan where it's going to be renewed? What do you have to make sure is happening? Because they may have terms and conditions. And this is the reason why some persons may have limited term leases because they don't want a situation where the person breaches the terms and conditions and then they have you for a
No
long
out.
Exactly.
They have no out. They're stuck with you.
So you have to bear these things in mind if they're trying to make sure that you're not a noisy tenant or that you don't have a certain crowd and all these other things. Is your business going to contradict with that? And then if you're only there for a short term, do you want to set up permanent or semi-permanent infrastructure that you spent a lot of money on and then you realize this is only for a year and they spent all of this money and I don't have the budget to then go and move somewhere else because I spent all of my money into setting up this infrastructure.
Okay, so that helps you understand, put things in perspective and plan that budget for it. We know that you're all about those budgets. That was where we started, helping you understand how to set up that budget. Let's take a closer look quickly in the final minute at threats again.
Threats again, external. You have to make sure that you're aware. People look at, for instance, any government decisions in terms of taxes or customs or any other system that may prohibit you from being able to run your business in the way that you would have envisioned. And you have to make sure that you budget for these things as well because you can't say, well, that's the way how this is happening externally. I have no control over this. What is your plan to be able to mitigate that risk or to work around it or to offer an alternative? So if you have something, a tax that has come in, is your plan every time a new tax come in to either eat that cost or to incorporate it into the price of doing business and pass it on to your customers? What is your long-term plan? If you're going to incorporate that cost into the cost of doing business, is your customer going to become dissatisfied and go to an alternative?
No, you see, that's why you really have to be making the most and being the best at whatever it is you're doing.
Agreed.
So that, you know, they can understand and hopefully you can explain to them why the price may have had to change.
Exactly. So all of these things you have to take into consideration and you can't just say, I have no control over it. You have to have a plan and especially a business incorporated into your business plan as to how you're going to manage these different things. And again, it takes a lot of brainstorming, it takes a lot of research, and it's not something that should be taken on lightly.
Exactly. All right, and I hope you've been paying attention. We've been putting those tips from Crystal Howell on the screen for each area of this SWOT analysis so that you can really try and do your business right. We're encouraging a lot of young entrepreneurs as well. Make sure you get it right. And some people will say get it right the first time because you don't always have a second opportunity. Crystal, thank you so much. We really appreciate this and we are wishing you a wonderful day today.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.